Welcome to the official AFL Fantasy podcast with the Traders.
G'day with the Traders, I'm Roy, Coach Destroy, and I'm here with Warnie.
Coach of the Want Dogs.
And Calvin.
Coach of Calvin.
All right, boys, it feels like we're starting to get towards the top now because we're up to having a look at the Pies and how they see going into the season. Yeah, well, traditionally, it has been the Mighty Pies, hasn't it?
It sure has. Well, they have been. But things have changed. Things have changed significantly, actually. We always saw the Pies as the top fantasy scoring team.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, you'd have a couple of players over the ton, sometimes a few, all of that. Not one last year.
Not one. What has happened?
And so they actually ranked 12th overall for fantasy points for. So that's a significant change from being almost the last decade, really, being the top team, definitely. If not in the top 2 or 3 or whatever it is.
Gosh, and the concern was they went so well, too, in terms of...
That is the concern. So...
So their style of play...
Well, basically, the thing was that McRae was their coach all of last year.
Yes.
And so that was his first year. A new game plan, which isn't equating to fantasy points. But we're seeing that a little bit across the board. But still... They are still ranked 12th.
I hate
if every other team's dropping. So, old mate Jaden, he did tweet out, basically they dropped 100 points per game.
Go on, hit your throat, Calvin.
So that's about 5 points per player. But if you were trying to scale it properly
scale it. I'm very familiar.
More for the big dogs.
Very familiar with the scale. Yes, 100%.
So, 100%. And that's what we saw. So pretty much from their squad last year, Crisp averaged 94. Yeah. Then it was Brodie Grundy, who's not there, averaged 93, but that was even only from 6 games. Gosh. So, and then it was all sub-80s. Like, actually, the next best, so their third highest averaging player, was a first-year player, Nick Dacos. Yes, that's a little bit different because he's a machine, but that's where they're at.
It sounds like we're talking about the Kangaroos or something.
Doesn't it?
Until he said there's a good first-year player.
Yeah. I thought, Roy, calm your farm.
Just joking.
No, you're not. But yeah, all right, keep going.
All right, so let's get started.
Okay.
Tom Mitchell. He has made the trip across from out in the eastern suburbs over to Thailand, and he is now a Collingwood player, and he will be back. Not to his best, but very much better than what he was last year.
He will.
He's their most expensive player.
He is.
Yeah.
At $853,000, which is cheap.
Do you know what, though? That's what I think. So I think, Tom Mitchell, their most expensive player. Yep, I would expect that. Because in my head, I just totally erase what happened last year. Yep. I still think of him as a 110.
Oh, yeah.
So I think no wonder he's most expensive, but that price dog.
Yep. So he's priced at his 96 average from last year. Now, this is ridiculous when you're thinking about it. Like, he is a player that holds the world record for most fantasy points in a season.
Yeah.
He has gone 129s or whatever it was, 127, 129s, back-to-back, won a Brownlow, did all that sort of stuff, and he was snouted as a pig in 2017. So he's a machine. He's pretty much a 110 guy, as we would say, at a minimum all the time because of what he's done in his history. So the issue was last year that at Hawthorn, old Sam Mitchell.
Yep, put a tag on it.
They had a little bit of a Mitchell clash there. I'm the top Mitchell. No, I'm the top Mitchell. Anyway.
We all know who the real top Mitchell is.
Too right, we do.
We do. Anyway.
The bigger man always walks away, they say.
He did. So he basically didn't get the centre bounces, and that was the thing. So he only attended 53% of Hawthorn's centre bounce, and that is this term, we love this term, his one wood.
Yes.
Yep, that is his one wood.
He does, and he creams them too.
He does cream them in the guts.
Yep.
I think we say... I also don't think we use one woods anymore.
No.
They're drivers.
Anyway. That was down from 70 and 74% of centre bounces that he attended the year prior.
Wow.
And he creamed them back then, didn't he?
He creamed them back then? Yeah.
So he dropped a fair bit.
He did.
Yeah, so down almost 20% of the centre backs, which does correlate with fantasy scoring, especially for those inside midfielders.
For people like him,
That's the key.
He's 20 points under what he did the year before.
Yeah.
And that's another key factor.
So the minor risk in this is that it's not the high-scoring Pies where, realistically, if he went to them a few years ago, he could have broken his own world record.
Too right, he would have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, but that's not going to happen. But given the handbrake on him last year, even though he's going into a system that's not as high-scoring, Mitchell at anything under 100 is value.
Okay.
I feel like he's a bit of a no-brainer for me at the moment.
He's
So he's in 31% of teams. What does he need to average to be a good pick? 110? Oh, probably not even that. If he's at 96... But what do you think he goes? I think he's 110 plus.
I think he's over 110.
I put on a number 112 and I'll be happy to stick with that. And I still think it could go past that.
I'm at 115. I think he's a 115.
I've heard a lot of people who watch the Pies closely that say there is a real limit on the high-scoring potential, which has me being real safe, which isn't like me. So I'm just sitting at that safe 110, fully expecting to look back at it and laugh at how low it is.
Is there a world where he only goes like a 105?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
If there is, it's in the numbers, like there is a thing there, like their style of play, but all he needs is to be in the guts, as Warnie said, of any style of play, and the ball is there.
Okay.
So he will score.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on board.
So the thing is that he's going to be a midfielder.
Yes.
I don't think he's playing anywhere else. He's probably the first picked in there.
Yeah.
Taylor Adams, we'll get to him later, but when he's on the park, he'll definitely be in there. And then we'll see probably a little bit of a mix as well, I think. So I think it is certainly something that I don't think is going to be an issue with him getting that midfield time.
So it'll be those two. Crisp, he's a mid now.
Yeah, that's where he is.
Pendles will still roll through there when they need him.
So last year we saw, this surprised me actually, Jordan De Goey had the highest percentage. He had 77%.
My goodness.
Centre bounces.
So he did not do what we expected.
No.
When that number dropped. What?
So
over 70?
he only averaged 81 as well last year.
That's amazing.
Which is, it was a
couple of years ago, we had him pegged as 100 guy.
Yeah,
if he was
because
doing
he was
those
going
CBAs.
into the guts. Yeah,
and there you go.
Now there's your flag, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the way he was scoring historically in the old Pies, he would have easily averaged over 100 if he had those CBAs.
Yep.
So there's a little flag.
T. Swizzle Adams was next, and he was 65%. Then Pendle's at 63, so I believe that one drops.
Yeah.
Jack Crisp 59%.
Yeah.
And then it's basically no one. So that was the core crew there.
Yeah.
De Goey, Adams, Pendles, Crisp. Let's call it Pendles out, Mitchell in.
Yeah.
Pendles will still get centre bounces.
Of course.
But, just Crisp, does some of his dry up a little bit?
To go play more
Just
forward.
to go play more forward?
Yeah, no, and either way, they make room for him in there because that's where his value is. And they want to win.
We did mention there Jack Crisp. I've made him my buyer beware in the article.
Oh, yes.
Basically because his scoring as a forward as a midfielder isn't what we want it to be.
No.
That's
Oh,
where
he's one of those
we talk
ones.
about more
Yeah.
midfield time for some of these players.
He's that guy.
And he is that guy. So one of the stats I crunched on him, he was actually he was going pretty well last year. He was pre-buy. He was at 103.
Yeah.
Remember he had that 50 in round one?
Yes.
And Mrs. Crisp got onto a TikTok or whatever
She
it
certainly
was.
did.
And then he actually
Switched on
dominated
after
from
that.
there on. Actually, post TikTok, he had a 126, and then for those from round 2 to round 13 up to their bye, he was averaging 108.
Only dropped under 100 twice in that time, and one of those was 99.
But the story after the bye was a lot worse.
Yeah, it was.
Only averaged 81 after the bye, in the home and away, that is.
Where was your TikTok then?
Yep.
Yeah, and no scores over 100 in that back end part. He did, I will say, his finals went 91, 101, 114. So that was good. But considering what he was doing in the first half of the season to the second half of the season, naughty, not good.
Hat wrecker.
Chippy Chris.
Chippy.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about someone else. Who would you like to talk about,
Darcy
Cal?
Cameron.
Let's go to Darcy Cameron.
Oh,
So
that's what
Darcy
I'm actually
Cameron
interested in this.
could feel like the player that we because I feel like Tom Mitchell's a no-brainer.
Yes, he
this
is.
is the player that's almost the most important one out of the Pies, because if he is that number one ruck, which I think he is,
Of course he is.
that's not a question. The question probably is Mason Cox played with him a bit, and that's an issue. Dan McStay has been traded into the Pies, and I think that is positive for him because he won't play as much ruck as what a Mason Cox did.
Yep.
Yes.
He'll be able to chop out, and so that will be Cameron's job. Now, think about Cameron and his, I guess his whole, what would you call it, like his shtick last year. That was his first time where he really had the opportunity to be a club's number one ruck.
Yep.
And he did pretty well.
Too right, he did well.
No, he was awesome.
He was a
So
standout.
we saw an average of 82 from him.
Yep.
And the patch, pretty much where Grundy went down, let's go through, I'll go before that score. He averaged 102 from round 7 through to round 18.
That's massive.
He's 20 unders.
We won't talk about round 19, or maybe we do.
Well,
That's when he
'cause
scored 34 on
that,
us.
that was weird.
There was no excuses.
No.
That's almost what it felt like.
Yeah, that was odd. There was there was something. There's a story to that, surely.
There's a story there somewhere.
That
There
was
has
bizarre.
to be. Yep.
But he
he
did
bounced
have
straight back, didn't
yeah,
he,
he
with it?
bounced back. He had some 90s to finish the year with. Had a couple of lower scores. Had a couple of 50s there, including a 50 in the finals
Yeah.
as well. Finals can be a different story, though.
Yeah.
We'll
Too right, they can be.
think that. But I think he is better than that 82 in draft. He's going to be in those top 6 to 8 players
Yeah.
of the rucks, I think, which is higher than where he's ranked with that 82. But what does he need to do in Classic? So there's two trains of thought here. You could pick him as a ruck because he's got ruck forward status,
Yes.
or you can pick him in the forward line.
Yes. I've seen people doing this as like an insurance policy.
I don't mind it.
They have him as a forward.
Yep.
And if Big Rowan, if Tom Campbell, dum-de-dum-de-dum,
Yeah.
comes in, then that's an easy fix-up.
Because I think you can really grasp at straws with insurance policies.
Yes,
And
yes.
in theory, it's good if it was a real group of, your own humans that you were actually coaching out on the park. Yeah, fair enough, and things like that. But with this one, I don't feel like it's too much of a
It's not a
stretch.
reach. No, it's
not
not.
a reach.
No, it's not.
Because he's actually justifiable in either position, and he's not purely some sort of safety blanket as a forward. He's actually an underpriced forward that could average, nearly 10 more than he's priced at
I
potentially.
think he can easily get to that.
The issue is that I feel with him as a forward is because of those big dogs.
So many there.
There's so many guys that we want to have, and it's the place where we probably will go and buy.
Oh, yeah, and there's that value around him as well, from
So-
your Thomas to your, what's that, Bulldog guy?
Now, this is a story for another
Yeah, it is,
podcast,
yes.
but
It's your structure.
you might actually even have some of those one of them in the midfield, for
Yes.
example,
My
because
current
you
team,
want
it's
to try
like
to
that.
fit.
Yes.
You want to fit a
Yeah.
Cameron there. If you're finding out that Rowan Marshall isn't the guy that you want him or need him to be, could he be your R2?
Yes, he could. 100%. I've said this all along. In an area where rucks have so many question marks over them, his question mark seems to be a little bit less than what the others are.
There's fewer.
There are
question
fewer.
marks.
and he's a little bit cheaper too, isn't he?
Yep. It's interesting.
Anyway,
He definitely has to be in the mix.
he's in the mix.
Yeah.
Okay, Nick Dacos.
Okay.
Epic season last year. So, does he improve from his 86?
He's in my current team.
Agreed.
I'm all over it.
I'm all on it as well.
The thing with me, this is one that if he ends up not being in my team, it is through overthinking something. I'm just going to say with this one, trust your eye test from last year.
Yeah.
What was he like to watch?
Ridiculous.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Ball
Just
magnet.
perfect role.
Amazing player, amazing role. He's available in defence, obviously, but
Yep.
chuck him in there. You're always looking for defenders with upside and scoring potential.
Agree.
And that guy is an absolute gun.
Scored a ton on debut.
Enough said.
Didn't he score 7?
Yeah, 7 for the year.
7 tons.
Yeah.
So he's priced
just
at
in for me.
87. He's easy 95 in my books.
He had a 147.
So, Roy, you put him in your rolling 22 at number 6
Yes.
when you did that pre-Christmas.
Yeah, yes.
Is that still about where he is?
I haven't clicked refresh on it lately. But, yeah, there's probably not a lot of adjusting above him at the moment.
Yeah.
The temptation was to put him higher, to be honest.
Okay.
I feel really excited about someone that has the ceiling that he has in his first year. Second year blues aren't a thing anymore, especially with someone like him.
Yeah.
He's too good to be blue.
What did Pete put down as his line on that tweet the other day?
Oh, 100 and...
It's like 103 or something. It was around that. You just go, wow, where are we?
I don't mind it.
No, I don't mind it either. No. I'm overs on that.
Yeah,
Woo.
same.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he will be a popular pick.
I reckon.
And he actually already is.
Sounded like you said a popular pig there.
Yeah.
I thought that was very appropriate.
He's in 41% of teams. He's the
41%.
Oh, there you go.
most selected pie so far.
It hasn't... What? Don't that many people have Tom Mitchell as well?
31% for Tom Mitchell.
We're going to get a good... No wonder we're wearing hats.
Names that we haven't really mentioned. We'll mention Taylor Adams. He's low. An 81's next to his name.
Very low.
Draft is a nice place for him. However, it's a bad place for him because he doesn't play all the games. And that's an issue. He's only played all the games a couple of times in his career. I think he played a 22 games in a season and 17 when he did the Corona ball year. So that was 17 games. So he played the full year there.
He's gone 17-14 the last 2 years.
He's a jet. You pick him up late enough to pinch hit for you when he's fit.
And that 81 is probably around that mark.
Yeah.
So depending on the size of your league, obviously.
That's true.
He's that sort of guy that could be that last on field. You could go and grab him if you've got a 4 midfield team with like our 12 or 14. It could be a great selection there. However, know that you'd probably be going your next pick a midfielder as cover.
So you have the choice there, rounding out your midfield, pick someone who is probably going to play 22 games and could average 2 or 3 more than that every game, or get Taylor Adams who will score 20 more than that a game.
Could score, yeah.
But
are there any questions about what he does with Tom Mitchell in the side?
No.
Nah.
They're the two main guys. When fit, they're the two main guys.
There.
Yep, 100%.
Yep. The other one too, we talked about Nick Dacos. Josh Dacos as well, 78 average for him. He's someone that could be, here you go. Taylor Adams with the 81, Josh Dacos with the 78, who is just increasing his numbers, is just getting better. He'll be a mid-80s minimum, I reckon.
Minimum.
Pretty safe.
Yeah.
That's safer than picking Taylor Adams.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
I still go Taylor Adams.
I know. I chase those old numbers. But, so Josh, he actually showed a ceiling.
Yeah.
Couple of 120s back-to-back.
He did towards the end of the season.
But then that's when you're going, that's the time I jump on him. I'm like, yep, I've seen enough.
Yep.
And then the next week he had 64.
Yeah, and that's what he does.
For some
he
reason,
has some
he
low
does
ones.
not get that out of his system,
That's that
does he?
outside thing, though, isn't it? That's
It is.
the issue with some of those players.
Definitely is.
Right.
But, I like him. And in draft, you'd love to round out your midfield with him because you'd think that's way unders for him.
Too right it is.
Now, cash cows, I'm going to mention Finlay McRae, mainly because he's still under 300K.
Has to be mentioned.
Has to be mentioned. So we'll talk about him mainly because he averaged 92 in the VFL last year. If he gets his opportunity, like he's, what was he, 1/16th brother of?
Yep.
That's what Roy called him, whatever his score was. That was a bit rude.
It is.
Can't believe you're chopping down their family tree.
Seriously.
So he's someone to watch there. But Joe Richards is a draftee that got some tongues wagging because we like a mature age pick.
We do?
He is 23 years old.
prime.
He selected to pick 48, which gave him the 206K price tag. Dual position, mid forward. He came out of a local league.
Love it.
Wangaratta.
Oh,
Yes.
So
it's better than the Newful.
Let's
kicked
go.
29 goals from his 11 games there. When he played his third game of senior footy, kicked 11 snags. So he's got a bit about him.
I like it.
Now, Derek Hind, the recruiting boss, his quote was, "Richards plays the way we play." So could be a chance to play. And if he does, I think we pick him.
If you don't, mate.
At any point. There are a few others there that I did throw out, and Cal, you didn't like me throwing it out on Twitter.
Do your own research.
To throw some names out there. But people are excited about some of their rookies. So I'll say, there's some defenders there. Arlo Draper, so he's been on the list. He was on the list last year. Charlie Dean, Will Kelly. I think we've
heard
hoping
those.
they might have been there.
Love
and
it.
Jacob Ryan was their draftee as well at 246. $1,000. So he's someone that I guess we will watch. Sorry, I closed that one down. All right, there you are. So he models his game on James Sicily. So that is something that could be good. So athletic
you hate him,
defender,
Dog? Dog's a hater.
intercept marking, so he can pluck off those marks. He has been one of those players. Might not be a round one starter, but one to watch when he comes through. So
cool.
I think that's someone. The Pies are still in a way developing, aren't they? It's a funny thing. A team that made the prelim final. They
were going redevelopment mode, but they just happened to be very
last
good
the year before, weren't they? So that's where they are. I reckon we've talked enough about the Pies.
You've done a good job there, Dom. You are right. There's not much there.
We've got Tom Mitchell. We're picking him.
I reckon there's there's more than we thought.
Dacos is a good chance. And then you'll say Darcy Cameron.
Okay.
They're the three.
Yep.
Three players that have the most relevance along the way through. But like always, there's going to be some guys in draft. And depending on how you see it play out, you could get yourself some value, or could they keep sliding and their averages go down? And is the Tom Mitchell impact bigger than what we might think? But it could be positive.
Too right, it could be.
For everyone else as
Too
well.
right, it could be.
Because they've actually got that inside midfielder that will get it to them, because that's what they've missed.
100%.
And that's why Tom Mitchell is averaging definitely 112 plus.
Yeah. Can I just cast your mind back to in the preseason, people saying he wouldn't make their best 22?
Did people say that?
Just wait until you see.
This is the other thing.
Don't recommend sitting and watching the Pies play if you have said that.
Agree.
Because you are going to feel very silly.
That eye test as well, we didn't mention that, but he's looking as ripped as he ever has, I reckon.
Lean pig.
Yeah.
Isn't he?
There's no fat on that bacon, Roy.
There's no mucking around either. He has been freed, basically, from Shawshank, and he is just out.
When he was freed from Sydney, he came with a point to prove.
Yeah. And he proved that point.
And he proved that point with Peter Popper pecking peppers. And he'll do it again, Roy.
He will.
He will do it again.
Yeah, no, it's a new pig this year.
You're right.
He is.
115.
Wow. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Couple more to go. Make sure you're subscribed on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and keep clicking back to afl.com.au for more fantastic fantasy content this preseason.